Before the sun rises, before the world begins demanding your attention, take a deep breath and remember this. God is already working on what you cannot see. There are blessings being prepared that you did not ask for, doors being positioned that you did not know existed, and answers being formed in places you have never looked. You may have gone to sleep last night carrying disappointment, fear, unanswered questions, or a heart that feels too tired to hope again. But this morning is a reminder that your story is not finished. As the first light of dawn breaks across the sky, let your heart become still in the presence of God. The same God who spoke light into darkness can speak peace into your confusion. The same God who made a way through the Red Sea can make a way where there seems to be no way. You may not know how your situation will change, but you can trust the one who holds tomorrow in his hands. Perhaps you have been praying for a door to open for so long that you have started wondering if heaven has forgotten your name. Perhaps you have watched opportunities pass by. Relationships change, finances become difficult, and your strength slowly disappears. Maybe you have smiled in front of people while silently carrying battles that nobody knows about. But hear this with faith today. Delay does not mean denial, and silence does not mean absence. God can be preparing something greater than what you imagined. Psalm 121 says, "My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." Your help is not limited by your circumstances. Your future is not controlled by your past. Your blessing is not dependent upon human approval. When God decides to open a door, no fear can permanently shut it. When God makes a way, no obstacle can cancel his purpose. The Bible says in Isaiah 43:19, "See, I am doing a new thing." Maybe you cannot see it yet. Maybe all you see is the closed door. Maybe all you feel is exhaustion. But God is not asking you to understand everything this morning. He is asking you to trust him. And if your heart is broken today, bring that brokenness before him. If you are tired, bring your tiredness. If you are anxious, bring your anxiety. If you have cried secretly, let God meet you in those tears. He is not ashamed of your weakness. Psalm 34:18 reminds us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. His presence can reach places inside you that no human being can reach. There may be blessings coming that will make you understand why certain doors had to remain closed. There may be restoration coming that will heal what you thought would remain broken forever. There may be divine opportunities ahead that could never have arrived through your own strength. So do not give up in the waiting season this morning. Choose faith over fear. Choose hope over despair. Choose surrender over anxiety. Lift your eyes toward the sunrise and remember that darkness never has the final word. Every morning carries a message. God is still faithful. Further, we come before you with open hearts. We surrender our plans, our fears, our disappointments, and our expectations. Prepare us for the unexpected blessings you have prepared for us. Open the right doors, close the wrong ones, heal our hearts, restore our strength, and guide our steps. Let your peace replace our anxiety and your hope replace our discouragement. Lord, if there is a door that only you can open, let it open at the right time. If there is a blessing we are not yet ready to receive, prepare our hearts for it. If there is a breakthrough approaching, give us patience while we wait. And when you bless us, remind us that every good and perfect gift comes from you. Today we believe that something can change. We believe that God is working behind the scenes. We believe that our prayers are not wasted. We believe that our tears have not been forgotten. We believe that the God who carried us through yesterday will lead us into tomorrow. Absolutely. Here is Keynote 1 expanded into a deeply emotional cinematic prayer message, keeping it flowing without a separate heading or concluding ending. There are moments in life when trusting God's timing feels harder than anything else you have ever done. You pray, you believe, you wait, and yet nothing seems to change. You look at the situation and wonder, Lord, when will it finally happen? You have asked for the door to open. You have cried over the same situation. You have waited for the answer, and sometimes the waiting itself becomes exhausting. But this morning, God is reminding you that His timing has never been careless, accidental, or late. What feels like a delay to you may be preparation in the hands of God as the morning light begins to rise and the darkness slowly disappears from the sky. Remember that you do not have to see everything God is doing in order to trust Him. The sunrise does not appear all at once. First, there is a faint light. Then the horizon begins to glow, and gradually the entire sky is illuminated. In the same way, God may be working in your life through small things you cannot yet recognize. He may be preparing people, circumstances, opportunities, resources, healing, restoration, and unexpected blessings long before you ever see the evidence. Psalm 27:14 says, "Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." Waiting does not mean God has abandoned you. Waiting can be where God strengthens your character, deepens your faith, heals your heart, and prepares you for what you have been praying to receive. Sometimes you are asking God for the blessing while God is preparing you to carry the blessing without losing your peace, your humility, or your dependence upon Him. Maybe you have been waiting for financial breakthrough. Maybe you have been praying for a new opportunity, a restored relationship, healing in your body, peace in your home, or direction for your future. You may have wondered why other people seem to move forward while you remain in the same place. But do not compare your chapter with someone else's story. God knows the path designed specifically for you. Ecclesiastes 3:11 reminds us that God makes everything beautiful in its time. Not your time, not someone else's time, His time. And there is something powerful about trusting that timing even when you cannot understand it. Perhaps God has protected you from doors you desperately wanted opened. Perhaps what looked like rejection was actually protection. Perhaps the opportunity you cried over would have taken you away from the purpose God was preparing for you. Perhaps the relationship you wanted was not the relationship your future required. Perhaps the delay that frustrated you was actually saving you from entering something before you were ready. So today, take your hands off the timeline and place your future into God's hands. You do not have to force what God has ordained. You do not have to manipulate circumstances. You do not have to chase every opportunity out of fear that you will miss your blessing. What God has appointed for you will arrive in the season He knows is right. Further, help us trust you when we cannot understand you. When the waiting becomes painful, strengthen our hearts. When disappointment whispers that nothing will ever change, remind us of your promises. When fear tells us that we are running out of time, remind us that you are outside of time and that nothing is impossible for you. Give us patience without passivity, faith without anxiety, and hope without demanding that you reveal every detail before we obey. Let this morning be a fresh surrender. Let every anxious thought become a prayer. Let every unanswered question become an opportunity to trust. Let every closed door remind us that you see what we cannot see. And as we move through this day, help us walk with confidence, knowing that even when we cannot see the blessing being prepared, your hands are already working behind the scenes, arranging what we could never arrange, opening what we could never open, healing what we could never heal, restoring what we thought was lost, and preparing a future filled with your goodness, mercy, purpose, and peace. There are doors in your life that no amount of human effort can open, and there are opportunities that only God can bring into your path. You may have spent months trying to make something happen, knocking on doors, sending messages, making plans, working harder and wondering why nothing seems to move. But this morning, God is reminding you that your future does not depend entirely on human approval. When God opens a door, no person, circumstance, rejection, delay, or obstacle has the final authority to shut what he has ordained for you. The Word of God says in Revelation 3:8, "See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." Let those words settle deeply into your heart today. An open door from God does not require you to manipulate people. It does not require you to compromise your values. It does not require you to live in constant fear that someone else will take your opportunity away. When God makes a way, His provision is greater than human resistance. Maybe you are standing before a closed door right now. You have prayed for a job, a financial breakthrough, a restored relationship, a new beginning, healing, or a change in your circumstances. You have tried everything you know to do, but the situation still appears impossible. You may be looking at that closed door and thinking that your dreams are finished. But sometimes the door you are staring at is not the door God intended for you. God sees beyond what you see. He knows what is waiting on the other side of every opportunity. He knows which doors will bring peace and which doors will bring destruction. He knows which connections will strengthen your purpose and which relationships will slowly drain your spirit. He knows which opportunities will help you grow and which ones will distract you from what He has prepared. That is why we can trust Him even when He says no. A closed door can hurt deeply, especially when you prayed sincerely for it to open. You may have cried over it. You may have wondered why God allowed you to get so close only to watch it disappear. But Isaiah 55:8-9 reminds us that God's thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and His ways are higher than our ways. There are things God understands today that you may not understand until much later. Think about Joseph. His journey included betrayal, slavery, false accusations, and prison before God positioned him for influence and purpose. What looked like one closed door after another was actually part of a greater journey. Joseph could not see the entire picture while he was suffering, but God was still working. Your present situation is not the entire story. Maybe you feel forgotten because the answer has taken longer than expected. Maybe you are emotionally exhausted from believing again and again. But do not allow the length of the waiting season to convince you that God has stopped working. Psalm 84:11 declares that the Lord is a sun and shield, and that He withholds no good thing from those who walk uprightly. Father, today we ask you to open the doors that are aligned with your will. Open doors of opportunity, wisdom, provision, healing, restoration, peace, and divine favor. Lead us away from doors that look attractive but would bring confusion or destruction. Give us discernment to recognize the difference between an opportunity created by pressure and a door opened by your hand. Lord, remove the fear that makes us desperate to force our own way. Teach us to wait with confidence. Teach us to trust your protection when you close something. Teach us to recognize your direction when you open something new. Give us courage to walk through the doors you place before us, even when the path beyond them requires faith. Today we declare that rejection will not define us. Delay will not destroy our hope. Closed doors will not convince us that our future is finished. We belong to a God who makes ways in the wilderness and streams in the desert. The same God who parted the Red Sea can create a path where there appears to be none. So breathe deeply this morning and release the pressure to control everything. You do not have to know every detail. You only need to trust the one who knows the beginning and the end. If God opens the door, walk through it with humility. If He closes the door, trust His protection. If He tells you to wait, remain faithful in the waiting. And if the opportunity arrives suddenly, remember that what looks unexpected to you was never unexpected to God, because He has already gone before you, preparing the way, arranging the right circumstances, positioning the right opportunities, and making room for what He knows your heart and purpose are ready to receive. There are disappointments that leave wounds so deep that you begin to protect your heart from hope itself. You prayed for something with all your heart, believed God would answer, and then watched the situation unfold differently than you expected. Maybe a door closed. Maybe someone walked away. Maybe an opportunity disappeared. Maybe the answer you were waiting for never came when you thought it would. And after carrying that disappointment for so long, you may have reached a place where you are afraid to hope again, because hopping feels like risking another heartbreak. But this morning, God is calling you to surrender those disappointments into His hands. Not because what happened did not matter, and not because your pain was insignificant, but because God does not want yesterday's disappointment to control tomorrow's expectation. You can acknowledge the pain without allowing the pain to become your identity. You can remember what happened without believing that what happened will always happen again. Psalm 55:22 says, "Cast your cares on the Lord and He will sustain you." What a beautiful invitation for a tired heart. You were never designed to carry every burden by yourself. You were never expected to understand every disappointment. There are things you cannot fix, people you cannot change, doors you cannot reopen, and moments you cannot go back and rewrite. But you can place them before God. Maybe you have been carrying the disappointment of a prayer that seems unanswered. You have asked God for healing, provision, restoration, direction, or breakthrough. You have prayed morning after morning, but the situation still looks the same. You may wonder whether God heard you. You may wonder whether your faith is strong enough. But your unanswered prayer is not proof that God has forgotten you. Sometimes God is working beneath the surface where your eyes cannot follow. A seed buried beneath the soil looks forgotten, but beneath the darkness something is happening. Roots are forming. Life is developing. Growth is taking place where nobody can see it. Your life may feel like that right now. You may be in a season where everything appears quiet, but God can be doing some of His deepest work beneath the surface. Isaiah 61:3 speaks of God giving beauty instead of ashes. Ashes represent what has been burned, what has been lost, what once existed but no longer looks recognizable. Yet God specializes in restoration. He can take what looks ruined and bring purpose from it. He can take a wounded heart and teach it to love again. He can take a season of loss and use it to develop deeper compassion. He can take disappointment and transform it into testimony. Further, today we surrender every disappointment we have been carrying. We bring you the memories that still hurt, the questions that still remain unanswered, and the situations we still do not understand. We give you the disappointment of closed doors, broken expectations, delayed answers, and painful seasons. We ask you to heal the places inside us that have become tired of believing. Lord, restore our hope. Where disappointment has made us cynical, soften our hearts. Where fear has made us withdraw, give us courage. Where rejection has made us question our worth, remind us that our identity comes from you. Where failure has convinced us that we cannot begin again, give us strength to take another step. Your word says in Psalm 30:5 that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Let that promise become real in our hearts today. Let this morning remind us that darkness does not last forever. The sun rises again. Hope can rise again. Peace can rise again. Faith can rise again. Maybe you cried yesterday, but today God is inviting you to breathe again. Maybe you felt forgotten, but today He is reminding you that He sees you. Maybe you have been emotionally exhausted, but His grace is sufficient for you. You do not have to pretend that you are strong. Bring God your weakness. Bring Him your questions. Bring Him your tears. Bring Him the parts of your heart that you have hidden from everyone else. Healing does not always mean forgetting what happened. Sometimes healing means remembering it without being controlled by it. It means looking at the past and realizing that God carried you through what you once thought would destroy you. It means understanding that the chapter was painful, but it was not the entire book. So today, release the disappointment. Release the need to understand every reason. Release the expectation that God must work according to your schedule. Open your hands and tell Him, Father, I trust you with what I lost. I trust you with what I cannot change. And I trust you with what is still coming. Let Him replace the heaviness with peace, the fear with courage, the disappointment with expectation, and the broken pieces with a renewed confidence that He is still writing your story, still preparing unexpected blessings, still restoring what can be restored, and still leading you toward the purpose He has placed before you. There are opportunities that look ordinary at first, yet God can use them to completely change the direction of your life. Sometimes the breakthrough you have been praying for does not arrive in the form you expected. It may come through a conversation, a new responsibility, an unexpected invitation, a person you meet, a skill you develop, or a door that suddenly opens after a long season of waiting. That is why we must pray not only for blessings, but also for the wisdom to recognize the opportunities God places before us. This morning, ask God to align your steps with His purpose. You may have your own plans, your own timeline, and your own picture of what breakthrough should look like. But God sees the complete picture. He knows where each road leads. He knows which opportunity will strengthen you and which one will distract you. He knows which connection will help you grow and which connection will pull you away from His purpose. When you surrender your plans to Him, you give yourself room to recognize what He is doing. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us to trust in the Lord with all our heart and not lean completely on our own understanding. That is not always easy. We want explanations. We want guarantees. We want to know exactly where the next step will lead before we take it. But faith often means moving forward with enough light for the next step, trusting God to reveal the rest along the way. Maybe you have been asking God for an open door, but you have been overlooking the small opportunities already in front of you. Maybe you are waiting for something dramatic while God is asking you to be faithful with something simple. David was faithful while caring for sheep before he was called into a greater assignment. Joseph remained faithful in difficult places before he was elevated to a position of influence. Esther was positioned in a place she could never have imagined before she understood why God had placed her there. Your current season may be preparing you for something greater than you realize. That is why you should not despise small beginnings. Zechariah 4:10 reminds us not to despise the day of small things. The opportunity may look insignificant today, but God can breathe purpose into something small. A single conversation can open a relationship. A single decision can change a direction. A single act of obedience can lead you toward an entirely different future. Further, give us divine discernment today. Help us recognize the opportunities that come from you. Give us wisdom to distinguish between what looks good and what is truly good for us. Protect us from opportunities that appeal to our pride but damage our peace. Protect us from relationships that look promising but pull us away from your presence. Protect us from rushing into doors simply because we are tired of waiting. Lord, teach us to pray before we decide. Teach us to listen before we move. Teach us to seek your wisdom before we commit ourselves to something that could shape our future. Your word says in James 1:5 that if anyone lacks wisdom, they should ask God, who gives generously. So today we ask without hesitation. Give us wisdom for our careers, our families, our finances, our relationships, our decisions, and our spiritual lives. Give us clarity when everything feels confusing. Give us peace when we are standing between multiple choices. Close every door that would lead us away from your will, and open every door that aligns with the purpose you have placed within us. And when you open a door, give us courage to walk through it. Do not let fear convince us that we are not ready. Do not let past rejection make us afraid of future opportunities. Do not let one disappointment cause us to reject the blessing that comes next. Give us confidence rooted not in our own ability but in your presence. Perhaps the unexpected blessing you have been praying for will come through an opportunity you never imagined. Perhaps God is already preparing something beyond what you can see. Perhaps the answer will arrive differently than you expected, but it will carry the fingerprints of His wisdom. So keep your heart awake, keep your spirit sensitive, keep praying, keep trusting, and keep obeying the small instructions God gives you. As the morning sun rises, let it remind you that a new day carries new possibilities. Yesterday's missed opportunity does not mean today's opportunity is gone. Yesterday's failure does not cancel tomorrow's purpose. What you could not accomplish yesterday does not determine what God can accomplish through you today. Further, prepare our hearts for divine opportunities. Remove distractions that keep us from recognizing your direction. Heal the fear that makes us hesitate. Restore the confidence that disappointment has taken away. Give us eyes to see what you are doing, ears to hear your instruction, wisdom to make the right decision, and courage to move when you say move. Let our steps be ordered by you. Let our choices honor you. Let our opportunities serve your purpose. Let our success never become more important than our relationship with you. And when unexpected blessings begin to appear, help us remember that you were working long before we could see the evidence, arranging circumstances, preparing people, developing our character, strengthening our faith, and guiding us toward the doors that were always connected to your perfect purpose. This morning, before you allow the noise of the world to fill your mind, let the words of Psalm 23 settle deep into your spirit. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. These are not merely beautiful words to repeat. They are a declaration of trust. They remind you that you are not walking through this day alone. There is a shepherd watching over you, guiding you, protecting you, providing for you, and leading you toward places of peace. Even when you cannot yet see the path ahead, perhaps you woke up this morning carrying concerns about tomorrow. Maybe your mind immediately went to your finances, your family, your health, your responsibilities, or a situation you have been trying to solve. Maybe before your feet even touched the floor, anxiety had already started speaking to you. But today, pause and remember who is leading you. The Lord is your shepherd. You do not have to know every turn in the road because He already knows where the road leads. Psalm 23 says, He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. What a promise for an exhausted heart. There are seasons when your soul becomes tired from constantly fighting, constantly worrying, and constantly trying to hold everything together. You may appear strong to everyone around you while inside you are longing for rest. But God sees that hidden exhaustion and He knows how to restore what life has drained from you. Maybe you have been walking through a valley recently. Psalm 23 does not promise that we will never enter valleys. It says, Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Notice the words, walk through. The valley is not your permanent address. It is a place you pass through under the presence of God. You may be in a difficult season, but you are not abandoned in it. You may be surrounded by uncertainty, but God is still beside you. You may not understand what He is doing, but you can trust where He is leading. Further, this morning we choose to place our lives under your shepherding care. Lead us today. Lead our thoughts away from fear and toward faith. Lead our decisions toward wisdom. Lead our conversations toward kindness. Lead our families toward peace. Lead our finances toward responsible stewardship. Lead our hearts away from anxiety and toward your presence. Lord, restore the soul that has become weary. Heal the heart that has been disappointed. Strengthen the person who feels like giving up. Bring peace to the mind that cannot stop thinking about tomorrow. Let your presence become greater than the pressure surrounding us. Your word says in Psalm 23 that you prepare a table before us even in the presence of our enemies. That means our circumstances do not have to become perfect before you can bless us. You can provide in the middle of difficulty. You can give peace in the middle of uncertainty. You can bring favor in places where we expected rejection. You can prepare unexpected blessings while circumstances still look impossible. Maybe you have been waiting for an open door and God is preparing something you cannot yet see. Maybe you have been praying for provision and He is already arranging what you need. Maybe you have asked for direction and He is preparing the next step. Trust the shepherd even when you cannot see the entire path. Sometimes we want God to show us the destination, but He gives us enough grace for today. He says, "Follow me, one step, one day, one prayer, one act of obedience at a time." You do not need tomorrow's strength today. When tomorrow comes, God will provide tomorrow's grace. Jesus said in Matthew 6:34, "Do not worry about tomorrow." That does not mean we ignore responsibility. It means we refuse to allow tomorrow to steal the peace God has given us today. Your future belongs in His hands. Your children belong in His hands. Your dreams belong in His hands. Your unanswered questions belong in His hands. So as the morning light fills the sky, let your heart become quiet. Imagine yourself walking beside still waters. Imagine the shepherd leading you away from the noise, away from fear, away from the pressure to control everything. Hear His voice reminding you that you are not forgotten. You are not alone and you are not without direction. Further, guide us toward the right opportunities and away from the wrong ones. Open doors that bring purpose, peace, provision, and growth. Close doors that would lead us into confusion. Give us courage to follow even when the path feels unfamiliar. Let your rod and staff comfort us when fear rises. Today we declare that the Lord is our shepherd. We will not allow fear to become our master. We will not allow disappointment to become our identity. We will not allow uncertainty to steal our hope. We will trust the God who has carried us before, the God who is carrying us now, and the God who has already gone ahead of us. And if unexpected blessings are being prepared beyond what we can see, make our hearts ready to receive them with gratitude and humility. If new doors are about to open, prepare us to walk through them wisely. If restoration is coming, prepare us to handle it with grace. If provision is on the way, teach us to recognize it. If our breakthrough is closer than we realize, strengthen our faith while we wait, so that when the shepherd leads us into the next season, we will recognize His voice, follow His direction, and remain close to His presence. There are mornings when anxiety arrives before your feet even touch the floor. You open your eyes and immediately begin thinking about everything that could go wrong. Bills, responsibilities, family concerns, unanswered messages, uncertain decisions, and tomorrow's problems begin racing through your mind. You may smile when people ask how you are, but deep inside, you are carrying a weight that feels impossible to explain. Yet this morning, God is inviting you to release the burden of tomorrow and receive His peace for today. You do not have to solve your entire future before breakfast. You do not have to understand every detail of what is coming. You do not have to carry tomorrow's troubles with today's strength. God has given you grace for this moment, and when tomorrow arrives, He will meet you there with fresh mercy and fresh strength. Jesus said in Matthew 6:34, "Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." These words are not a command to ignore your responsibilities. They are an invitation to stop allowing an unknown future to steal the peace of the present. Tomorrow has not happened yet. You are suffering over possibilities that may never become reality. How many times have you allowed your mind to create a disaster before the day has even begun? How many nights have you lost sleep over situations that eventually worked out differently than you feared? Anxiety often makes the future look more frightening than it actually is, but faith reminds you that the future is already known by God. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is become still. Stop rehearsing the problem. Stop replaying the conversation. Stop imagining every possible negative outcome. Breathe, pray, remember who God is. Father, we bring you every anxious thought. This morning, we bring you the fears we have spoken aloud and the fears we have hidden inside. We bring you financial concerns, family worries, uncertain plans, difficult decisions, and situations we cannot control. We place them into your hands because you are stronger than everything that is making us afraid. Lord, replace our anxiety with peace. Where our minds are racing, bring stillness. Where our hearts are beating with fear, bring calm. Where uncertainty is creating confusion, bring wisdom. Where disappointment has weakened our hope, restore our confidence in you. Philippians 4:6-7 reminds us not to be anxious about anything, but to bring everything to God through prayer and thanksgiving, and that His peace will guard our hearts and minds. Notice that Scripture does not say we will always understand the answer immediately. It says God's peace can guard us while we are still waiting for the answer. That means you can have peace before the breakthrough. You can have peace before the door opens. You can have peace before the situation changes. You can have peace while the answer is still being prepared. Perhaps God is preparing unexpected blessings in your life, but your greatest need right now is not another possession or opportunity. Perhaps your greatest need is peace. A peaceful heart can recognize God's direction more clearly. A peaceful mind can make wiser decisions. A peaceful spirit can wait without becoming desperate. When you are desperate, you may try to force doors open. When you are peaceful, you can wait for God to open the right one. Further, teach us to distinguish between urgency created by fear and direction created by faith. Help us not to rush simply because we are uncomfortable. Help us not to make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Give us patience while you prepare what is ahead. Psalm 91 reminds us that the one who dwells in the shelter of the Most High can rest under the shadow of the Almighty. What a picture of security! You do not have to live exposed to every fear that enters your mind. You can dwell in God's presence. You can make His promises your shelter. If your heart has been exhausted by constant worry, let this morning become a turning point. Give God the thoughts that have been consuming you. Give Him the questions you cannot answer. Give Him the people you cannot control. Give Him the future you cannot predict. And then breathe again. The world may still be moving around you, but your soul does not have to move at the same speed. You can walk slowly with God. You can pray before responding. You can trust before seeing. You can rest before receiving the answer. Father, let your peace cover every anxious heart listening right now. Bring peace into homes filled with tension. Bring peace into minds filled with uncertainty. Bring peace into families facing difficult decisions. Bring peace to those waiting for financial provision. Bring peace to those praying for healing. Bring peace to those standing before closed doors. Today, we refuse to let fear dictate our expectations. We refuse to assume the worst before we see what God has prepared. We choose to believe that He is working even when we cannot trace His hand. We choose to trust that His timing is wise, His plans are good, and His presence is enough for this moment. So take this day one step at a time. Do what God has placed before you today. Pray today. Love today. Serve today. Work faithfully today. Rest when you need to rest. Let tomorrow remain where it belongs. in the hands of the God who already knows what is waiting there, who is already preparing the path, already arranging the details, already carrying the burdens you cannot carry, and already making room for the peace, provision, protection, and unexpected blessings that He knows you will need. Sometimes the closed door you are crying over is actually the door God is using to protect you. You may not understand it today. You may look at the opportunity that disappeared, the relationship that ended, the plan that failed, or the answer that never came and wonder why God allowed it to happen. You prayed for that door to open. You believed it was the answer. You imagined what your life would look like on the other side. And when it suddenly closed, your heart may have felt crushed. But what if the closed door was not rejection? What if it was protection? What if God saw something you could not see? What if He knew that what you wanted so badly would eventually bring pain, confusion, distraction, or distance from the purpose He has prepared for you? Isaiah 55:8-9 reminds us that God's thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and His ways are higher than our ways. We often judge a situation by what we can see in the present moment, but God sees the entire journey. We see one door. He sees the hallway beyond it. We see today's disappointment. He sees tomorrow's consequences. We see what we lost. He sees what He is preparing. Perhaps you have been asking God, why did you let this happen? Maybe you have replayed the situation again and again, wondering what you could have done differently. But there are moments when the answer is not found in what went wrong. The answer is found in trusting that God was protecting you from what you could not recognize. Think about a child walking towards something dangerous without realizing the danger. A loving parent may stop that child immediately. The child may cry because they do not understand why they were stopped. From the child's perspective, the parent interrupted something they wanted. From the parent's perspective, the interruption was an act of love. Sometimes God's no feels painful because we cannot yet see what He sees. Maybe you wanted a certain job, but God knew the environment would have destroyed your peace. Maybe you wanted a particular relationship, but God knew it would pull you away from your purpose. Maybe you wanted a certain opportunity, but God knew it would have required you to compromise your values. Maybe you wanted something immediately, but God knew you needed another season of preparation first. Father, help us trust You when You close doors. Heal the disappointment that comes when our plans do not work out. Teach us not to interpret every closed door as failure. Give us the wisdom to understand that sometimes protection looks like rejection, and sometimes redirection looks like disappointment. Psalm 84:11 says that the Lord is a sun and shield, and that He does not withhold good from those who walk uprightly. If God is withholding something, we can trust that He knows why. If He closes something, we can trust that His goodness has not changed. If He redirects us, we can trust that His purpose has not disappeared. There may be a blessing on the other side of the door you are no longer standing in front of. Maybe God is preparing something better suited to your calling. Maybe He is developing your character before bringing the opportunity. Maybe He is removing something that would have distracted you from what matters most. Maybe He is creating space for an unexpected blessing that could never have entered while you were holding on to the old thing. Do not allow one closed door to make you believe that every door is closed. The Bible says in Proverbs 16:9, "In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." You can make plans, but God directs your steps. Sometimes His direction takes you through a path you never expected. Sometimes the road bends when you thought it would remain straight. Sometimes you are asked to leave something familiar before you understand what is ahead, and that is where faith becomes real. Faith is not only believing God when everything works according to your plan. Faith is trusting Him when your plan falls apart. Faith is saying, "Lord, I do not understand this, but I still believe You are good." Faith is continuing to walk when the door you expected to enter has closed behind you. Further, heal every heart that is grieving a closed door. Help those who feel rejected understand that their worth has not been determined by one person's decision. Help those who lost an opportunity believe that their future has not been canceled. Help those who experience disappointment understand that you can redirect their steps without destroying their destiny. Let Psalm 37:23 become a reminder today. The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in him. Order our steps, Lord. If we are walking towards something that is not for us, redirect us. If we are holding on to something you are asking us to release, give us courage to let go. If we are standing before a door you have closed, give us peace to walk away without bitterness. And when you open the next door, help us recognize it. Let it bring peace instead of confusion. Let it align with your purpose instead of feeding our pride. Let it strengthen our faith instead of weakening our relationship with you today. We choose not to mourn forever over what God has closed. We choose to trust his wisdom. We choose to believe that protection can look like disappointment. We choose to believe that redirection can lead to greater purpose. We choose to believe that an ending can become the beginning of something we never imagined. So if a door closed recently, do not assume your story is over. Wipe away the tears and lift your eyes again. The same God who allowed one door to close can open another at the perfect time. He can take you places you never planned to go. He can introduce you to opportunities you never knew existed. He can restore what needs restoring, remove what needs removing, prepare what needs preparing, and guide you toward unexpected blessings that were never visible from the other side of the door you once thought you could not live without. There are wounds inside the heart that nobody else can see. You can smile, go to work, answer messages, take care of your family, and continue with your responsibilities while carrying pain that you have never fully expressed. Sometimes the deepest wounds are not visible on the outside. They live in memories, disappointments, rejection, betrayal, fear, loneliness, and prayers that seem to remain unanswered. But this morning, God is reminding you that he sees every hidden place, every silent tear, and every moment when you had to be strong while your heart was breaking. You do not have to hide those places from him. Psalm 139:13 reminds us that God knows us completely. He knows when we sit and when we rise. He understands our thoughts from far away. Before you explain your pain, he already knows it. Before you find the words to describe your disappointment, he already understands it. Before anyone else notices the heaviness in your heart, God has already seen it. Maybe you have become emotionally tired because you have carried the same wound for too long. Someone hurt you, and although time has passed, the memory still affects the way you trust. Something happened in your past, and now you are afraid that it will happen again. A relationship ended, and part of your heart still wonders what went wrong. You experienced rejection, and now you question whether you are worthy of being chosen. You failed at something important, and now you are afraid to try again. But your wound does not have to become your identity. Further, touch the hidden places in our hearts today. Reach the places we cannot reach ourselves. Heal the pain we have learned to live with. Heal the memories that still bring tears. Heal the rejection that made us question our value. Heal the betrayal that made us suspicious of everyone. Heal the disappointment that made us afraid to hope again. Psalm 147:3 says, he heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Notice that God does not ignore broken hearts. He does not tell you to pretend that you are fine. He draws near to the brokenhearted and begins the work of healing. Sometimes healing happens gradually. A wound that has been developing for years may not disappear in one moment. God may heal you through prayer, through scripture, through forgiveness, through wise relationships, through time, through worship, and through learning to see yourself through His eyes instead of through the eyes of those who hurt you. Do not become discouraged if healing feels slow. A sunrise does not happen instantly. Darkness slowly gives way to light. In the same way, God can bring light into the darkest areas of your heart, one layer at a time. What once controlled your thoughts can lose its power. What once made you afraid can eventually become part of your testimony. What once broke you can become an area where God's grace is revealed. Maybe you have been asking God for unexpected blessings, but today He wants to give you something deeper first, restoration within. Because a blessing is difficult to enjoy when your heart is still trapped in yesterday. An open door cannot fully bring peace if fear keeps telling you that you will be hurt again. A new opportunity cannot be fully embraced if old rejection continues defining your confidence. Further, restore our emotional strength. Teach us to forgive without returning to unhealthy situations. Teach us to release bitterness without denying what happened. Teach us to remember without reliving the pain. Teach us to move forward without carrying every wound from the past into the future. Lord, replace the lies we have believed with your truth. Where we have thought, I am not enough, remind us that we are wonderfully made. Where we have thought, nobody sees me, remind us that you see us. Where we have thought, nothing will ever change, remind us that you are the God who makes all things new. Isaiah 43:18-19 tells us not to dwell on the former things because God is doing a new thing. There is something powerful about allowing God to create new expectations in a heart that has been disappointed. Maybe you have stopped praying because you were tired of being disappointed. Start again. Maybe you have stopped believing because the waiting became too long. Trust again. Maybe you have stopped expecting good things because life taught you to expect the worst. Let God's word teach your heart a new way to think. Further, give us courage to believe that the future does not have to repeat the past. Give us strength to step into new seasons without carrying old fear. When unexpected blessings arrive, help us receive them without suspicion. When new doors open, help us walk through them without assuming they will eventually close. Let your peace guard our minds. Let your presence calm our emotions. Let your word become stronger than every negative memory. Let your love become deeper than every rejection we experienced. And for the person listening this morning who feels emotionally exhausted, remind them that they do not have to be strong every second. Let them rest in your presence. Let them cry if they need to cry. Let them breathe without pretending. Let them know that weakness does not disqualify them from your blessing. You are not finished with them. You are still healing them. You are still restoring them. You are still preparing them. And while they may not understand every chapter, you are able to take every broken piece, every painful memory, every unanswered question, and every season of disappointment and weave them into a testimony of grace. So that the heart that once struggled to hope can begin to believe again, the soul that once felt forgotten can recognize your presence again, and the person who once feared tomorrow can begin to walk toward it with renewed faith. There are blessings God can place in your life that you may not yet be prepared to carry. And sometimes the greatest work He does is not simply preparing the blessing but preparing you for the blessing. We often pray, Lord, open the door. Lord, send the breakthrough. Lord, change my situation. But rarely do we stop and pray, Lord, prepare my heart for what I am asking you to give me. Yet there is wisdom in that prayer, because an unexpected blessing can become overwhelming when the heart receiving it has not been strengthened to handle it. This morning, ask God to prepare you before He changes your circumstances. Prepare your character. Prepare your wisdom. Prepare your emotions. Prepare your faith. Prepare your priorities. Prepare your hands to steward what He places into them. Because sometimes the blessing is not the destination. It is the responsibility that comes with the blessing. Joseph prayed for purpose, but God first prepared him through difficult seasons. David was anointed for kingship, but he spent years learning faithfulness before sitting on the throne. Moses was called to lead a nation, but his preparation took place long before the assignment became visible. God was not wasting their waiting seasons. He was developing something inside them that they would need for what was coming. Perhaps your waiting season is doing the same thing in you. Maybe you have been frustrated because nothing seems to be changing. You keep asking why God has not opened the door yet. But what if He is strengthening you before opening it? What if He is teaching you patience because the next season will require endurance? What if He is developing wisdom because the opportunity ahead will require careful decisions? What if He is healing your heart because the blessing will involve relationships that require you to love without fear? Father, prepare us for the blessings You are preparing for us. Do not allow us to receive something that our character cannot sustain. Give us wisdom before increase. Give us humility before recognition. Give us discipline before abundance. Give us patience before responsibility. Give us discernment before opportunity. Your word says in Proverbs 16:18 that pride goes before destruction. So, Lord, protect us from becoming proud because of the very blessings we prayed for. If You increase our finances, teach us generosity. If You increase our influence, teach us humility. If You give us success, keep our hearts close to You. If You open a powerful door, remind us that the opportunity came through Your grace. Sometimes we ask God for more while He is teaching us how to manage what we already have. We ask for a larger platform while He asks us to become faithful with a small assignment. We ask for greater provision while He teaches us stewardship. We ask for influence while He develops our character in private. Do not despise the preparation. The quiet season may be building the strength you will need in the public season. The hidden work may be preparing you for visible fruit. The lessons you are learning today may become the wisdom that protects you tomorrow. Psalm 37:5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will do this." Your responsibility is not to control every detail. Your responsibility is to commit your way to God and remain faithful as He leads you. Father, remove anything within us that would cause us to misuse the blessings You provide. Remove greed, pride, bitterness, insecurity, impatience, and fear. Replace them with gratitude, wisdom, generosity, courage, patience, and love. Prepare us to recognize the difference between a blessing and a distraction. Not everything that looks successful is beneficial. Not every opportunity is an assignment from You. Not every open door should be entered. Give us spiritual discernment so that we do not become so excited about receiving something that we forget to ask whether it aligns with Your will. Lord, prepare us emotionally for answered prayers. Some people have waited so long that they have become afraid to believe again. Some have experienced so much disappointment that good news feels suspicious. Some have been hurt so deeply that they struggle to receive love without expecting abandonment. Heal those places. Lord, teach us how to receive without fear. Teach us how to celebrate without becoming careless. Teach us how to grow without forgetting where we came from. Teach us how to experience increase without losing our dependence upon You. And when the unexpected blessing arrives, let us recognize it with gratitude. Let us not take it for granted. Let us not assume that because one door has opened, we no longer need Your guidance. Let every blessing draw us closer to You rather than further away from You. Maybe the blessing you have been praying for is already being prepared. Maybe God is arranging circumstances that you cannot see. Maybe He is connecting you with people you have not met yet. Maybe He is creating opportunities that will arrive at a moment you never expected. Maybe He is preparing restoration in an area where you thought nothing could ever change. So while you wait, prepare, pray, grow, learn, forgive, heal, and remain faithful. Let God develop your heart while He develops your future. Let Him strengthen your faith while He arranges your circumstances. Let Him teach you to carry today's responsibilities with excellence before asking Him for tomorrow's increase. Further, when the doors open, let us be ready. When provision comes, let us be responsible. When favor appears, let us remain humble. When restoration arrives, let us protect it with wisdom. When new opportunities come, let us seek your direction before we move. And if the blessing looks completely different from what we imagined, give us the faith to receive it anyway. Because your ways are higher than ours. Your thoughts are higher than ours. And sometimes the answer you prepare is far more meaningful than the answer we originally requested, carrying not only provision but purpose, not only opportunity but growth, not only increase but deeper faith, and not only an open door but the wisdom to walk through it while remaining close to the one who prepared it. There comes a moment when you have prayed long enough, waited long enough, and cried enough tears that you have to make a decision in your heart. Will you keep moving forward in faith, or will you allow disappointment to convince you that nothing will ever change? This morning, God is calling you to keep walking, not because you have every answer, not because you can see the entire road, and not because everything around you suddenly looks perfect, but because you know the one who is leading you. You may not know what today will bring, but God does. You may not know which conversation will change something, which opportunity will appear, which door will open, or which unexpected blessing may be waiting around the corner. But nothing about your future is hidden from Him. Your responsibility is not to see everything. Your responsibility is to trust Him with the next step. Psalm 37:23 says, "The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in Him." What a powerful promise for someone who feels uncertain about the future. Your steps can be established even when your circumstances feel unstable. Your path can be secure even when you do not know exactly where it leads. God can guide you through places you never planned to enter and still bring you toward a destination filled with purpose. Maybe you have been standing still because fear has convinced you that you might make the wrong decision. Maybe past failures have made you afraid to try again. Maybe rejection has made you question your ability. Maybe disappointment has made you expect another disappointment before anything good can happen. But you cannot allow yesterday to become the prison of tomorrow. Further, give us courage to move forward. When fear tells us to remain where we are, remind us that faith requires movement. When uncertainty makes us hesitate, give us wisdom for the next step. When our strength feels small, remind us that your grace is sufficient. Your word says in Joshua 1:9, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Notice that God does not promise Joshua that the road will be easy. He promises His presence. That is enough to keep moving. You may be entering a season that feels unfamiliar. You may not recognize the person you are becoming because God is growing you beyond what you have known. The old season may have been comfortable even though it was painful simply because it was familiar. But sometimes faith requires leaving what you know and trusting God with what you cannot yet see. Abraham had to leave his homeland without knowing every detail of where God was taking him. Peter had to step out of the boat before he experienced the impossible. The disciples had to follow Jesus without knowing everything that would happen along the way. Again and again, Scripture shows us that faith is often a journey before it becomes a destination. So today, take the next step. If you need to forgive, begin there. If you need to pray, begin there. If you need to make a wise decision, seek God first. If you need to apply for the opportunity, take the step. If you need to release the past, surrender it. If you need to begin again with God. Do not wait until you feel completely fearless. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing faith while fear is present. Further, go before us today. Prepare the way before we arrive. Make crooked paths straight. Give us discernment to recognize your direction. Protect us from decisions made out of desperation. Give us patience when you say wait and courage when you say move. Psalm 121 reminds us that the Lord watches over our coming and going. That means you can walk into today knowing that your movements are not invisible to God. He sees where you are going. He knows what you will face. He knows who you will meet. He knows what opportunities will appear and what challenges may come. And if an unexpected blessing appears, help us recognize it. If an open door appears, give us wisdom to walk through it. If an opportunity arrives that we never imagined, keep us humble enough to seek your direction. If a door closes, keep us from becoming discouraged. Teach us to understand that your protection and provision can both be part of the same journey. Lord, strengthen the person listening right now who feels like they have nothing left. They have been carrying responsibilities, disappointment, financial pressure, family concerns, emotional pain, and unanswered prayers. They may feel like giving up, but breathe new strength into their spirit. Let them know that their exhaustion does not mean their journey is over. Give them renewed hope. Give them fresh courage. Give them peace for today. Give them strength for the next step. Let them remember Psalm 35. That weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. The morning has come. The light is rising. The darkness is losing its grip. There is still a future ahead. Today we choose faith over fear. We choose movement over stagnation. We choose prayer over panic. We choose God's promises over our circumstances. We choose to believe that the story is still being written. Maybe you cannot see the breakthrough yet, but keep walking. Maybe you cannot see the open door yet, but keep trusting. Maybe you cannot see the blessing being prepared, but keep praying. Maybe you cannot understand the delay, but keep believing, because the God who carried you through yesterday is already present in today and has already gone before you into tomorrow, preparing paths you cannot yet see, arranging opportunities you could never create, protecting you from dangers you may never know existed, healing wounds you thought would remain forever, restoring hope where disappointment had taken root, and leading you step by step toward the purpose, peace, provision, favor, and unexpected blessings He has prepared for your journey.